What's going on, guys? Seth and Chevy here. We just watched episode 9 of Hell's Paradise. Hell's Paradise is back after a week break. Yeah. But we've watched the episode. Hopefully you have as well, because we're going to be talking full spoilers ahead. Before we do that, let's talk recap. This episode was at first very straightforward, and then we got an info dump. But basically, Gabimaru decides that he's going to go on ahead of his group. They were discussing a way to kind of plan out how they're going to go about going after the elixir of life. That's what it's called, right? Elixir of life. And he's going to seek out Horai, the place with the thing?
The inner circle.
Yeah. So he's heading there on his own without them because, like he said many times throughout the show so far, he's got to get home. He's got to be able to get this thing so he can get his pardon so he can go home to his wife. So he ends up finding a location, a building, but as soon as he gets there, he runs into the same Tensen who took out Tenza. I don't remember the other people's names, but they're the same one. They exchange a little bit, essentially just saying that this Tensen already had to deal with other people, and she essentially just wants him to leave at this point because it seems like she's kind of just annoyed with the situation. We get a long, drawn-out fight. I mean that in a positive way. This is a very rare treat for the show where we actually get to see combat. We see a full fight scene between the two. Not to go into every single detail, but it does kind of start off like the last fight we saw this Tensen fight in, where they're kind of taking hits and learning what the person's capable of doing, but they slowly kind of realize that Gabimaru is a little more powerful than the last person they fought. Still, they feel a little cocky, but they start realizing that he's got a lot of moves, he's got a lot of potential for a human. So yeah, they're fighting for a while, and then Gabimaru kind of decides that he has to put everything he has into this and strike the Tensen faster than they can heal. So he just kind of goes crazy on the Tensen, just obliterating their body. And then realizing or knowing that the Tensen is not dead, but taking a break for a second because they've been ripped apart by his strikes. He wants to know where the elixir's at, and the Tensen starts like transforming into some kind of flower thing.
Yeah, some unlocked form.
Yeah,
I don't remember what
we learn later in this episode that they have a form that they can turn into. That apparently the other Tensen are not happy that they use that with a human, but we'll get to that.
Yeah.
They end up turning into this big flower monster, which is really creepy and disturbing looking. Gabimaru has to fight it, so he attempts it, but this form's not as simple. He starts getting pummeled by this electricity flower monster thing. He has a vision, I would say, of waking up from this nightmare he's experiencing right now with his wife, where he talks with her. And then he realizes that even if this isn't reality, it was nice to talk to her and see her, because he might not be coming home at this point. And then he unleashes essentially his last big move, because through his training, we learn in this episode, if you're going to go down, you got to go down giving all that you got. And take the person out with you. He goes to do that with this fire move. It's also said that this is instinctual. He's been trained so much that it's not even something he's planning on doing. He just does it. But then in the brink of time, May, I think so. This little girl's name, who I think we saw following him earlier in the episode behind a tree, shows up, creates this little shield sphere around him, which seems to melt the ground, and they slide down the hill, escaping. The Tensen, who had transformed into the weird monster, goes back into her original form, wondering what the hell May's even doing. So we now know that they have some kind of connection, which makes sense. And then, we go back to Sagiri and company, and they're trying to figure out where Gabimaru went, whether they need to go look for him, whether they should do something else, stop wasting time, go find the elixir of life like they're supposed to. But then Groot, I forgot his name, the tree guy, wants to go find May. He assumes that she followed Gabimaru, and he says that he has the ability to go through the fog and possibly make the way through there, whereas the humans likely wouldn't. So they take him up on that. They start heading out to find them. During that time, they discuss the Tensen a bit. We find out that there are 7 Tensen hermits that I think we both gathered are 7 parts of one entity. There was an original Tensen, like, and then it turned into 7 that all have their own personalities. They can interchange between whatever form they want to be, whether they want to be male, female, or anything in between. And during that time, we see a little bit of their dynamic. We get to meet all of the 7 Tensen. I don't remember any of their names, but they're all very colorful, very floral looking, and definitely different personalities. They apparently just sit around and drink tan, and they kind of give the Tensen that fought Gabimaru some shit because she had trouble fighting him and had to go into her form to fight him. They ask if she killed him. She lies and says that she did, and one of the Tensen shoots her with an ability as just kind of like a punishment for even, being so weak, I guess. But then they talk about that they're family. They're supposed to have each other's backs. So we get a little peek behind the dynamic of this group. And so 7 Tensen. And then we find out that the Groot guy is part of the original people who lived on this island, who live longer than humans, but eventually turn into trees themselves. That's why he is a walking tree right now. And people who were in his family before had already completed their transformation into being trees, and that's why we see all these humanoid trees everywhere. It's his daughter, his wife, and other people who are part of this village. So that's interesting. And then lastly, we finish the episode with Gabimaru waking up, essentially realizing for himself after fighting one that these aren't gods, they're monsters. And if they're monsters, they can be defeated. And so he's going to start strategizing on how to defeat them. And then one of the other criminals, the big guy, shows up, sees Gabimaru, and we're left off there. That was the episode. We went from just a big fight scene to a lot of info dump, which I kind of appreciate because the show can kind of meander in certain topics quite a bit, and we spend a lot of time there. So when we do get info that's useful, I'm like, okay, I want this, but there's a lot all of a sudden at the end, like lore on the people from the island, the 7 Tensen, all that stuff. So what do we think?
Yeah, it was an interesting episode for sure. I think the highlight for me was definitely all the information. I actually, at this point, am convinced it's my favorite part of the show is learning about the
lore.
The lore, yeah. It is definitely a lot more interesting than for me at least, the characters and even the action sequences. Though they're fun, they're pretty normal animation, I'd say. That's not a knock or anything. It's just, it is Mappa, so there was an expectation going into it. My fault, shouldn't have been that way. It's not, like I said, it's not bad, but it ain't like what I'm used to from them either. So
Sure, yeah, this is definitely a B project from them as far as we've seen.
That being said, we did get a fight scene, like I said, and we got to watch it. Thank you.
Last episode showed us quite a bit as well, so hopefully this just becomes the standard.
The standard, for sure. Now that things are established. I liked watching their exchange and them kind of like both kind of testing each other. It definitely felt like. I also like kind of getting the result of this fight, which turned into us kind of like getting not really told but shown. They kind of run on their own energy of sorts, and that does deplete. So they're not good in a fight of endurance, so it seems
Which is something I was wondering because they still drink tan. So if they're drinking that means they have to essentially re-up on it.
Yeah, that's their food, essentially, is what I'm gathering.
Because they have to have people who are alive to create flowers to make tan. And so as soon as I figured that, I'm like, oh, okay, so if you can get in the way of that or deplete them of that,
Yeah, drain their battery, basically.
Probably the way to go about it. Because even though Gabimaru defeated the first form, but wasn't able to defeat the second form,
Spent all his
he
energy
got to
too.
the boss. He got to the boss fight. So that shows progress.
Yeah, well, and the other thing I like too is, towards the end there, right before the one-handed samurai dude showed up, he's kind of like already formulating like how he's gonna take one of these down now that he has some like information, and he's like, I need more people. So it's become less of a I need to do this as much as he's kind of coming to the realization if they're going to kill these things. Thing. I don't think he realizes there's multiple. He's gonna need help. So, and then May just doing her bubble thing. Like she's shown powers a couple times now, and no explanation. And the Tensen, I assumed knew her, but is confirmed know her. So I wonder what the connection there is as well. So
yeah, I don't know if she's one of the 7 or if she's just like somebody who also drank some tan. Maybe she's from the original village.
Yeah,
but then drank the
because
tan.
The tree guy has like an affinity for her, obviously.
Yeah.
So, she's a big old question mark still, but the show's been pretty good about like giving info. So, like you said, especially earlier on, it kind of like was intentionally, I feel, dragging because they're trying to like keep the mystery going.
Yeah.
But
it's kind of,
it's been a lot of info. So
yeah, for sure, it's gotten better. But like the first like 5 episodes, there's a lot of themes that just stuck with for a while, and a lot of questioning characters, how their motivation and if they can do this or whatever. And we've gotten past that for the most part, and so now we're actually exploring the lore and the story and stuff more than the characters themselves. So
yeah, and then other than that, I mean, just the whole like supernatural and mystery of it all has definitely become, as I kind of said in the beginning, I want to know more. Like I want to know like what ends, like, where's this journey going, what mysteries are they cover, questions are they going to find, kind of thing. So I am enjoying that part of it a lot. So
it's funny because I'm liking the story and the lore more than everything else too, and the unraveling of it, and that it's almost like a survival horror story.
Yeah.
And I, as we watch this, think this story from a manga might have served a video game better. This feels like a story unraveling in something I would want to experience in an interactive game.
I can see that.
Figuring things out, because it almost reminds me of like a survival horror game, as they're like unraveling the mystery and figuring out what's going on, and like they're fighting Tensen, they're turning into monsters and stuff. I'm like, this would be like a fun video game. And not to say the show's not good, but like the whole time, like this has like a formula that would really work for a game.
Yeah. That
there's sections of the island you got to get through, and there's 7 bosses and stuff. It's interesting, but yeah, that has been my favorite part as well, is the unraveling of the story. So yeah. Anything else? All right, so I like the fight scene in the beginning. I thought it was pretty cool. I also like that they're kind of testing each other and learning a bit from each other. I like that the Tensen, assume this is going to be the same kind of situation that they're used to. It's also interesting too to like peek behind the curtain and see not only this Tensen but the other Tensen are like formulating a plan because they know humans have showed up and they're trying to get rid of them essentially. And talking about making sure those guys almost got killed enough to get thrown in the pit so they can get something out of it.
Yeah.
But also realizing these humans are like a little more powerful than they're used to. That's kind of an interesting factor, and it kind of went into this fight because the Tensen went from going like, oh, just get out of here, I'm sick of chasing you guys off or trying to kill you or whatever, to like, oh, this guy's like more powerful than I thought, to get to the point of being like, oh, you're like annoying me, like, because this is going on longer than I wanted to.
It was also interesting seeing like the Tensen's like switch flip when he started asking like all the right questions. It was like, okay, you're not just a person.
Yeah, it's almost like his mystery's unraveling for the Tensen. So that was kind of a fun moment because I think I said this like an episode or 2 ago. Gabimaru feels like he can go from like normal to like OP, and I'm like, where's that OP power? And we're seeing it in this fight where he's like actually unleashing his abilities, and it's enough to keep this Tensen busy for the most part, to the point where they felt the need to, like, I gotta up the ante because like you're wearing me out essentially.
Yeah.
Whereas like for the Tensen, it's like, you're wearing me out, I need to get rid of you now. Gabimaru was getting to the point where it's like, I'm about to die. I need to do something. I don't know if I'm going home. So it was an interesting exchange. It was fun to watch, and I thought the monster design of the Tensen was actually pretty disturbing, which I thought was kind of cool. That's something we've talked about quite a bit with the show already. Is visual style and art direction is definitely imaginative and done well. One scene in particular that stood out to me, another subtle thing that happened that we keep talking about throughout the show, is when he was waking back up from his vision, where it showed him and the background was slowly disappearing. He was in the room with his wife, and then it starts getting like more and more bright, and then it shows his face, and as he's like waking up, the blood starts pouring down his face, and I was like, that was a cool like visual thing to see.
Yeah.
It's like he's coming back to the reality of what he's in when he's questioning it. It's actually, I thought, a really cool scene. Very subtle, but like really smart. But yeah, the fight scene was cool. Really happy to see that, and I think it had some weight. So especially after the last episode, watching what the fuck happened to Tenza.
Oh yeah.
It's nice to see somebody do something to that Tensen when he was just blowing her apart. That was fucking cool to watch. So the rest of the episode was cool as well, though. The information on the Tensen is just more info that was useful and interesting, and knowing essentially what our heroes are up against. And then the village people who turn into wood. Very interesting.
Yeah.
Kind of tragic. Gives Groot some background, some weight. Some like, well, that kind of sucks. Shine some light possibly on motivations and possibly what we're going to learn about May soon, I assume. And then, her showing up and saving Gabimaru is a bit of a May ex machina, but that's fine, because in the last episode they kind of built rapport when he was telling her, you don't worry about what people think, blah blah blah.
Scars don't matter.
Scars don't matter. That whole talk, that obviously built some relationship between them. So she felt inclined to follow him because she knows what's on the island. He doesn't. So her saving him made a lot of sense. And then the episode, don't know where it's going, but either Gabimaru is about to make a friend or he's about to kill somebody. So we will find out in the next episode.
I'll say, in his state, man, like, he don't need to be fighting again.
Yeah. I think he's going to have to convince this dude that they're up against something that's going to kill him individually. So they're going to have to become buddy-buddy. As for the other criminal and his brother, I don't know if we saw him escape or not, but the blonde guy looked like he got out.
Climbed out,
yeah. He's going to have to join forces as well. We're going to have to get a ragtag team of Tensen killers, which I'm all here for. I'm hoping that happens because I'm ready for them to start taking these dudes out, especially the orange-haired one, which seems to be, I don't know if they're the weaker one, but I feel like we're getting a lot of...
That's our first taste of it.
Yeah, exactly. And I'll be really curious to see what the other Tensen's monsters
look like.
Will be, because
Yeah.
that's kind of an interesting thing. Because the first one I thought was actually really neat looking, so it was definitely creepy looking, which I liked.
Yeah, it's weird how they take something as beautiful as flowers and like there's just such a constant state of eeriness to it. So, the art direction's just been great. So,
yeah, it's funny because like one of the many new Silent Hills coming out is based in Japan, and it has this very dark, eerie visual style, but it also is like a bunch of flowers and it's very floral, and it's interesting that this show also has something like that. Like it's obvious, like there's a theme there that they're both playing with that feels very Japanese to make beauty seem scary or eerie. Because it's not something we really do a whole lot in like the West, essentially, like in cinema and stuff.
yeah, we definitely rely more on like gore and like jump scares and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So, pretty cool. I like where it's going, and definitely interested. The last episode and this episode have kind of reinvigorated my interest in at least where the story's going. I do want to know where it's going because it's getting interesting.
2 or 3 episodes that are left this season. So
yeah. We're gonna have to have some kind of conclusion. Maybe they'll kill one of the 7 Tensen.
that'd be a good place to stop.
Yeah. Because now we've seen that it's not easy, but if they can knock one out, we get left off with like, well, it can be done.
Yeah.
But obviously, like any anime, they're going to be more and more powerful. So
Gotta go up that ladder.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm just curious about how, and I said this in the last review, but like how they're gonna level up as well. So because they're gonna have to be able to fight those. So, but we'll find out when we get there. I think that's it. Anything else?
Nope, that's it.
All right, let us know in the comments what you guys think of this episode of Hell's Paradise. What stood out to you? What did you think about the fight scene? What do you think about any of the details in that fight that maybe we didn't talk about? What do you think about the details on the Tensen? Is there something we missed there when it comes to the 7 of them? What do you think about their dynamic? And what do you think about Groot and his people turning into trees? What do you think about May saving Gabimaru? And where do you think things are going with the sword guy, the one hand guy showing up? I forgot. Yeah, he was like right in the beginning when he lost his hand.
Because the bug, yeah.
Unless, of course, you've read the manga. We have not read the manga, so please do not spoil it for us. We want to find out organically. But if you have not or do not know where it goes, speculate. We can have fun with that. But yeah, stay tuned. We have another review coming out for Demon Slayer. That also came out. We'll be watching that. We'll be reviewing it, so hopefully do the same. But until then, I've been Seth. This has been Chevy, and we'll talk to you guys later.